What if the slowest looking car at the red light was actually the fastest thing on the road? What if that crusty old wagon next to you had 1,000 horsepower and a vendetta? In Australia, the deadliest machines don't flex. They creep, they wait, and when it's time, they obliterate everything. These are the cars that shouldn't win, but absolutely do. And you'll never see them coming. Number 1. The Vacation Destroyer VH Commodore Vacationer Wagon. Picture this. It's a quiet Sunday at the drag strip. A Ferrari owner's flexing in the staging lines, polishing his badges, feeling smug. Then, he hears it. The cough of an old Holden cranking to life. And here it comes. Faded paint, crusty roof racks, and the words Vacationer slapped across the back like a dad joke on wheels. He laughs. He shouldn't. Because Mark Andreeske's VH Commodore is Australia's ultimate automotive sucker punch. On the outside, it's a rolling piece of nostalgia, straight out of 1986, right down to the factory radio and cracked dash. But lift the hood, and you'll find a turbocharged LS that hurls out 1,100 horsepower at the rear wheels. That's more grunt than a McLaren P1, in a station wagon. This wagon runs consistent 9-second quarter miles, roasting supercars while the cabin still smells like decades-old air freshener and maybe Vegemite toast. This isn't just a sleeper, this is psychological warfare. It doesn't race, it ambushes. Number 2. The Factory Phantom Ford Falcon XR8 Sprint. Some sleepers are built in backyard sheds. This one, it rolled off the factory floor like it knew it was going to cause trouble. The Ford Falcon XR8 Sprint was the last hurrah of Aussie-built V8 muscle. Ford Australia knew the end was near, and instead of slowing down, they dropped the mic. Subtle body, corporate gray paint, the kind of car you'd expect to find at a rental kiosk. But hiding under that sleeper skin is a 5.0-liter Miami supercharged V8 pushing 462 horsepower and up to 536 on the overboost. That's Hellcat numbers in something with cloth seats and Bluetooth that barely works. Just 750 units were ever built, making this Phantom a rare beast. But it doesn't shout, it doesn't beg for attention, it just moves, and fast. Like 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.5 seconds fast, and with the traction to back it up. You won't hear it coming, you'll just hear it whoosh as it disappears. Number 3. The Undercover Hunter Skoda Superb 206 TSI. What do Aussie cops use to catch the truly fast? Not Chargers, not Commodores, they use this. The Skoda Superb 206 TSI is the ultimate sleeper in a badgeless suit. It looks like an Uber XL, a corporate fleet car, something your HR manager might drive to a safety seminar. But under the hood, a 2.0-liter turbocharged engine pushing out 276 horsepower, backed by all-wheel drive and DSG dual-clutch precision. This little blighter does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.9 seconds, and does so in silence. But why does this car matter? Because highway patrol agencies chose it. It blends in so well, even car enthusiasts don't clock it until it's too late. And there are red and blues in your mirror and regret in your gut. No badges, no wings, no warning. Just cold check efficiency, with an Aussie sense of humor. Number 4. The Pocket Rocket Toyota Starlet. At first glance, it's a $500 rust bucket. Second glance, still a $500 rust bucket. But by the third time you see it, it's vanishing down the quarter mile and your ego's in pieces. Probably. The Toyota Starlet is Australia's ultimate David versus Goliath. Barely larger than a microwave, lighter than a Harley, and usually covered in primer patches and regret. Yet those tiny hatchbacks are certified street assassins. One legendary build hiding a 4E FTE turbocharged 1.3-liter engine punched up to over 400 horsepower at the front wheels. That's kinda like shoving a Saturn V rocket into a wheelbarrow. We're talking 10-second quarter miles on Steelies, still rocking original hubcaps. You can hear it spooling before you even see it, and by the time you do, it's already 3 cars ahead and leaving a cloud of tire smoke and disbelief. No aero, no flash, no mercy. Just a tiny tin can with a bad attitude and a bigger turbo than sense. Along with whoever's driving it, of course. Number 5. The Blue Collar Bruiser, BF Falcon XT. This is the kind of car you'd find outside Bunnings, with drywall in the trunk and a bag of sausage rolls in the front seat. But under the bonnet, violence. The BF Falcon XT is peak Aussie sleeper energy. Base model, no frills, vinyl seats, and a dashboard so plastic it might melt in the sun. But its heart? A turbocharged 4.0-liter Barra inline 6, built to handle absolute chaos. This particular build puts down a monstrous 885 horsepower at the wheels, all while looking like it belonged in a government fleet auction. The hubcaps are still on, the paint's sun-faded, and the interior smells like job site dust and stale coffee. And that's the charm. It doesn't surprise people, it embarrasses them. This Falcon is a straight-up high-vis missile, tuned in someone's shed and capable of making European supercars rethink their life choices. It's Clark Kent, if he drank Bundy and worked demolition during the week. Number 6. The Business Class Bomber, Mazda 6 MPS. If James Bond had an accountant cousin who drag raced on weekends, he'd probably be driving this. The Mazda 6 MPS, also known as the Mazda Speed 6, was Mazda's stealth bomber. At first glance, it's a perfectly average executive sedan. Leather seats, polished trim, something you'd take to a client meeting. But underneath, turbocharged lunacy. Its 2.3-liter Turbo 4 makes 255 horsepower stock, routed through all-wheel drive and a slick 6-speed manual. That's pretty fast, but the real magic happens with basic bolt-ons. Throw in a bigger turbo, tune and exhaust, and these things easily push 350-plus horsepower, all while looking completely anonymous. It's the Peter Parker of performance sedans. Glasses on, tie straight, but rip off the shirt and it's throwing punches at Corvettes. It doesn't need to shout, it just shows up and ruins your night. Number 7. The Corporate Assassin, Holden Commodore SV8. You've seen them 1,000 times. Fleet-spec Commodores with coffee cups in the cup holder, Bluetooth not paired, and 92.3 FM playing something tragic. But this one? This one bites. The Holden SV8 is what happens when you give a muscle car a disguise. Based on the VY Executive, this factory sleeper came loaded with the LS1 5.7-liter V8 from the SS, cranking out 315 horsepower and 465 Nm of torque. No wings, no flares, just that clean, understated body and a menacing growl if you're close enough to hear it. Think of it as Holden's version of Jason Bourne, wears a dress shirt, blends into the crowd, but the moment it moves, you realize it's not here to negotiate. This had the FE2 Sport suspension, a 6-speed manual, and a steel-eyed mission. Gap anything that mistook it for a rental. And it did. Over and over. Corporate on the outside, criminally fast on the inside. This isn't a Commodore. It's a con. Number 8. The Farewell Fighter, FGX Falcon. When Ford Australia faced extinction, they didn't build a monument. They built a weapon. The FGX Falcon XR6 Turbo was the final chapter of a decades-long legacy. It came loaded with the now iconic Barra 4.0-liter inline 6, turbocharged and tuned to crank out 362 horsepower and 533 Nm straight from the factory. But leave it to the Aussie lunatics to ask, what if we doubled that? With forged internals, massive turbos, and tuning witchcraft, some of these final Falcons are now pushing over 1,000 horsepower without changing the stock interior. No wide body, no carbon, just pure menace in factory silver. This isn't just a sleeper, it's a eulogy on wheels. And that turbo spool, it sounds like the end of an era gasping for revenge. The FG6 didn't go quietly. It left with a burnout so long, it's probably still smoking across 3 postcodes. I'm just gonna call it what it is, Ford Australia's middle finger to irrelevance. Number 9. The Godzilla Transplant, VT Commodore RB30. It looks like it's headed to the footy with a boot full of sausages and a bag of ice. But fire it up and you'll hear Japan's Revenge. This VT Commodore hides a monster from the east, a built RB30-26 hybrid, combining Nissan's legendary RB bottom end with a GTR twin-cam head. The result? 1,450 horsepower, delivered with surgical fury. Still wearing its factory paint, still on stock wheels, still rocking the original headlights that have seen 1,000 sunrises in a Kohl's car park. But under the bonnet, it's a war zone, a mechanical riot of forged pistons, high-mount turbos, and ECU wizardry. This is Australia's answer to the GTR5, except it's wrapped in a family sedan that looks like it's 5 years overdue for a detail. It doesn't just blur the line between street and race car, it erases it. This Commodore isn't a build, it's a power move, a fusion of Japanese precision and Aussie boldness. Godzilla didn't disappear, it just changed its plates. These aren't just fast cars, they're a rebellion, a uniquely Australian form of warfare where ordinary is deadly and flash gets gapped. Where the family wagon humbles the Ferrari, where the beat-up sedan becomes the new benchmark, where you don't brag about your horsepower, you hide it. This is a culture built in garages, sharpened at drag strips, and driven on public roads with baby seats and booster cables still in the back. It's not about showing off, it's about showing up, and showing you up. So the next time you're at a red light and that crusty, badgeless Falcon or faded-out Commodore pulls up next to you, don't blink, don't laugh, and don't bet. Because in Australia, the real kings don't roar, they whisper, and then they vanish.